Welcome to the Kopite Podcast with your hosts Mick Moran and Jay Pearson.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Kopite Podcast, or Kopite TV. I don't know which one we are these days. We do bloody both, don't we, Mick? How are you, pal?
Yeah, not bad, mate. You?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Well, as you can see from the beautiful man that is on our screen, we have best-selling author Ross Chandley back on the podcast. I think it's like your fifth or sixth time, mate. So your next match ball's on its way.
Who's counting?
I don't know.
Who's counting? No.
Do we count with when friends come on the podcast? I don't think we do. You know what I mean?
When he gets intros like this all the time, he's going to keep them back.
I know, yeah. When we're having a down day on his ego feed, and I'll just ring you up and say, do you need someone on?
Well, the thing is, I did it to Mick for so long, and it's worn out now. He just gets used to it.
Yeah.
So, mate, well, listen, again, thanks a lot, Ross, for coming on, mate. How have you been?
Good, yeah. I'm getting excited for the football. Itching to get back to it. But yeah, good. Thanks for having me again.
Anytime, buddy, anytime. Seems like stuff on Redmen's going swimmingly as ever, mate, during the lockdown period. Some great content you guys are pushing out.
Yeah, it's been difficult, probably a bit like yourselves, of just kind of testing new waters, everything that we kind of knew before and understood from our fan base. And, we relied so heavily on match day content of what we kind of have everything, thrown out the window to then go, oh, shit, what do we do now? And obviously, we've got paid subscribers, which, we owe a lot to in terms of, their support, but also they pay for stuff. So they expect content, and it's kind of finding out, like, I know you've done the same of what works, what doesn't work. You're testing new waters. You have to try things. Certain things like I did a player ratings articles, which like would normally get well after games. Like I did it on the Istanbul games. Like no one was really asked because we've all seen them games before. And the beauty of football is like having the conversations of the game that's just happened, because no two games are the same. That's what people crave about football, and it just could find like just doing stuff just didn't work. But it's not like a fault of like yours or ours. It's just the demand's been there because everyone's like, well, there's no football on. There's worse problems going on in the world. A lot more now, like even more so this week. Like football was kind of took a back step, but you still got to maintain your presence and come out of it the other side.
Yeah, that's true, mate. And like you just hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of stuff that people are struggling with at the minute, and if they can lose themselves in a load of YouTube videos for a couple of hours, that's one of the things that we can all provide for them, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that I've maintained since the start of it. It's all right saying, okay, the bigger picture is people's physical health and what's going on across the world and people dying, and it's terrible. But it's also, I think, Mick's mentioned it before of the mental side of things. We're quite fortunate of having all those here, having a fan base or friends to go and talk to and stuff like that. But you'll know from going to pubs and going to the games and stuff, there's certain people that don't have that network or support. So their only chance of going to talk to people about the football is physically going to the football game. So like you said, for having some sort of escapism probably of listening to football fans or talking or commenting on Twitter or social media or even YouTube posts, of having that escapism to talk to people is huge for some people. So it's it's far easy to say like, football doesn't matter. For large people it doesn't, but to some people it's all they've got.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's all I've got at the minute anyway. Hope the wife isn't listening. But obviously today is a bit of a special day in terms of Liverpool's history. On this day, we agreed a deal to sign one James Milner in 2015, and he's going to go down as arguably the greatest Bosman ever. But I just want to speak to you boys about the fact that James Milner signed him from City on a Bosman 5 years ago. 210 games, 26 goals and 39 assists it's fantastic for a lad like him, and especially his age, and he's still going strong. And for me, I just never want to see him leave the club. I just think he's absolutely brilliant, and he has been arguably the greatest free signing ever.
Yeah, you know what? I think if he left, I think it'd be the biggest loss to that team. And you can talk about quality on the pitch of like Salah and Mane or Firmino, Virgil van Dijk, but James Milner brings so much on and off the pitch. In the period that he's been at the club, even that time we were in transition where we had Sacco at the back and Alberto Moreno and stuff like that, and he was, even when Moreno was there, he was playing left back. That sums him up perfectly. He's a midfielder doing another job that he's been required to do. No questions asked. Did it. okay, maybe wasn't as good as Robertson going forward, but that was never the expectancy of him. The maturity that he shows, the fact that he puts an arm around younger lads, the fact that he's so fit, he passes the test better than anyone else at the start of pre-season, year in, year out. And even like the latest memory I have is the clearance against Bournemouth. Do you know what I mean? That's the oldest person, a player that's in our team, set an example still. He still baffles me. And he shouldn't do, because he's shown it time and time again, just how good he is on and off the pitch.
Yeah, it's true. Mick, when it was announced, the deal that we were signing James Milner, what was your initial thoughts? I mean, granting back to the time where we were at as a club, sort of on the brink of something special, maybe, or we were in a bit of a transition period. What was your thoughts when we were getting him?
I don't know. I always thought he was a good footballer and like good all rounder, like Ross has said. But I don't know if he's not a type of signing where you're like doing cartwheels about it. Do you know what I mean? He's a good solid player, and I think for a free transfer, it probably was a bit of a no-brainer. I think he took a 15k pay cut to join us. I think he joined on the premise that he was going to be put into centre midfield more often, because obviously at Man City he wasn't getting that game time in that preferred position. So he joined on that premise, and then, like Ross has just also said, he got thrown into left back and obviously didn't complain at all. Done a great job, and we were without Andy Robbo or whatever down that left side, and performed boss. So no, I was happy with the signing, and obviously he's gone on to do amazing things. And like Ross said, if he left, it would leave a huge void in there, because I think his influence behind the scenes is probably not spoken highly enough, and him alongside Hendo have just spurred us on to all the great things that we've gone on to do.
I think his personality is a huge part of that as well. Sorry, Jay, of like,
No.
that thing where it was like a boring James Milner. I think Mick's right when he came in. Like, you're not doing cartwheels because, like, an English central midfielder never sets, anyone's world on fire, really, does it? But you think of where he'd been and what he'd done of, Newcastle, Aston Villa, City, he was consistent, kind of low profile of what he did. And, at the time, it's probably what Liverpool needed of, some maturity, someone to stabilise that, because, we think of the loss of Steven Gerrard and Jamie Carragher. We didn't really have that voice or someone in the background, but also his personality, in the sense of, like, when he does those videos with Robbo and stuff like that, he adopted the boring James Milner, which he's quite clearly not, but he's taking it on the chin, and he's kind of gone with it. So I think, but you probably say that for a lot of Liverpool players at the moment. I think, the way they come across the fans, that bond, I think it has helped immensely. But I think probably even more so with the James Milner, because he's just a dead nice fellow, isn't he?
Oh yes, absolutely. And like you just said, those videos are just brilliant, and it's just so the down to earthness of what Milner and Robbo bring to the squad. And like you've said before, that not everybody is a superstar footballer, and they're really grounded individuals. They just get up, play football, and crack on. But like the old Paul Scholes mold, you never saw him on the front pages. He was always on the back pages, and even then he was dead quiet in his personal life. And I think that's exactly what that is for James Milner. And if Mick knows I've read his book, and I think you've read it as well, Ross, haven't you?
Yeah, he's got two, hasn't he? He's got like a Q&A one as well. Yeah,
the Q&A one is so funny, and it's so James Milner. It's unbelievable. I mean, when I first heard the news, I was absolutely buzzing, and the reason why is because obviously we all remember the 3-2 City game at Anfield in 2014. Obviously, it was such a good atmosphere. We went 2-0 up on the verge of winning the league. But when he came on, that's when City got back into the game. When he was coming on, I was shitting myself thinking he's going to change the game here, and he did. So when I'm picturing in my mind when we're signing that James Milner. And for me, I think we've got a better version of James Milner that's been at Newcastle, Leeds, Villa, and City. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
Yeah, I can't say I watched him so much at Aston Villa, Newcastle, and Leeds very much. But I suppose it comes with maturity and experience, and kind of like level-headedness. We speak about Virgil van Dijk being calm and composed. You'd probably say the same with James Milner, and he's probably like that in the dressing room as well. So yeah, I think you're probably spot on. But I think he's just, he doesn't. I don't think he's ever drunk, has he either? So like, it's not like he's properly looked after his body. So I shouldn't compare him to Cristiano Ronaldo in that sense. But I mean, in terms of someone looking after the physical health and being at the peak, okay, James Milner isn't a Cristiano Ronaldo, but he's a little bit older than him. But for someone to kind of do that and have the maturity and just say, I'm going to dedicate everything I've got to my job, and essentially put his body on the line, both in every sense of the word. I think it's a testament to the man, to be honest. Yeah,
definitely, mate. Mick, if say Leeds do get promoted, given obviously the current climate and stuff like that, do you see him going back to Leeds? You know, given that, you know, touch wood, everything goes right for us, we win the league. Do you see James going back to Leeds?
I hope not. Because like Ross said, it would leave him a massive void in there. But then on the flip side, you couldn't really blame him because it's his boyhood club. That's where he broke through as a striker, didn't he? You know, as a winger back in the day. So you couldn't really blame him. But you know, for what he's given to the club and what, like we just touched on there, what he's brought to the dressing room and all of the stuff that's gone along with it. And if we do top it off, obviously we won the Champions League last year, and if we top it off with the Premier League this year, then it might be a nice way for him to go out. And like Ross said, I think James Milner is probably having the best period of his career, only because I think his peak's probably later than everyone else's because he's such a machine. So I think the last 5 years we've had him from 29 to 34. I think that's probably the peak James Milner that you're going to see, because he was literally like, obviously all the hard work he does on the training ground and winning the lactate test every year and all the shit like that. I think he's just one of them that longevity he's brought to this club has been tremendous. So I don't think you can blame him if he had a little shootout to Leeds at the end of the season, maybe.
I think the massive difference between when he signed and now is if he left, and as I said before, it'd be a massive loss. But James Milner was the only person in that Liverpool side that had won something. There was a natural born winner. You know, he won titles with City and, you know, FA Cups, League Cups, whatever else that he'd won. You know, Liverpool, you know, at the time that he signed, have relatively won fuck all. I never had that winning mentality. The mentality shift in the past 5 years. You know, we've won the Champions League. We're champions of the world. You know, we got to Europa League finals and stuff like that on the back of it. You know, we're going to be Premier League champions. So for everyone else to have that in their locker is a huge difference. I agree with Mick. Like, I don't blame him if he wanted to leave, but at the same time, you know, I understand it might be his only chance to go and play for his boyhood club and kind of, you know, I think he'd be captain, he'd be still in the Premier League. He'd be an example to them. I think he'd bring them to another level. But at the same time, why would you leave Liverpool? Do you know what I mean? If you're dead happy. I suppose ultimately it depends on transfer business in the summer. You know, someone's going to come in, like Mick said before, and take that midfield spot. You know, is he want to go on a wang around and play, you know, a handful of games, or if we don't get a backup left back, does he want to play left back all the time? It's entirely up to him. And if he did want to go, I'd have no qualms. I'd be gutted. But you know, like Mick said again, you know, for the service he's put in for this club for the past 5-6 years, whatever it is, who are we to argue with him?
Yeah, perfect, mate. Just last one on Millie then. Your favourite Millie moments? Mine is, I mean, every penalty he scores is a great Millie moment for me because the way he puts them penalties away is unreal. But for me, it was the tears at Anfield after we got to the Champions League final. You can see how much it meant to him. But I don't know if you guys have got any different or you agree with me on that one.
I think I agree on that one. I think the one that comes to mind straight away is the Leicester one. I think it was the last minute. The Leicester game. I think it was at home.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I was literally, obviously, shitting my kicks, thinking, "Oh fuck, we need to put this away." But then Millie steps up and bags it, and that was like a one, just set us along the line to the crucial run of results. So that was one of them as well for me.
Yeah, I think I've got a few. I think you can't argue with the penalties because again, everything that I'm probably going to say now sums the man up in some way. So with the penalties, where it's last minute or whatever, it's, you know, it's the composure. You probably back him to go and do it. Putting Neymar on his arse, I think, you know, is another huge one. But that's incentive to kind of, it sets a tone for the players, sets a tone for the fans of saying, you know, we're Liverpool, we're not here to fuck around, or we don't care who you are. I think that the mentality behind what he does, you know, if someone else doing it to a Liverpool player, you don't like it, but you know, that's just football and tribalism. And again, the Bournemouth thing, I know it's, you know, probably recency bias or, you know, the kind of the last thing that he did, but you know, never giving up, being the last man on the line, digging your team out the shit. You know, you could go on of what that one moment meant. And even like, you know, we said before, you know, he's in his mid-30s. Like, he's not, is he? Do you know what I mean? No. If you have it, like we said, the lactate test before, if you put any of us up against James Milner, like, none of us are capable of doing that. You know, the technique, the drive, the mentality behind it, can't just go, I'm going to get that ball, I'm going to hook it. And he cleared it pretty well as well. So, you know, there's probably loads more for James Milner. I do like the Champions League one. I think the clips were doing the round after the anniversary, and he's giving it the 6 times. But, like, his muscles and his veins are like fucking Popeye, and I was like, oh, my God. Yeah.
That's it. There's only 3 months between me and James Milner. I just look at him and go, I am just a fucking absolute mess compared to that man.
Yeah, he's puts us all to shame, doesn't he?
He does, mate. He does. Well, moving swiftly on. Obviously, we've got big news that's happened over the last week or two that the Premier League is back. Thank fucking Christ for that. But obviously, we don't want to talk too much in terms of like the revelation because we've all been there. We've all talked about how happy we are about it. But we've had a few more details come to light since. Obviously, June 17th is when City and Arsenal are coming back. So obviously, we will be keeping a very close eye on that one. Given the fact that there's been a big break and all that sort of stuff, do you think Arsenal can get a result against City to potentially help us for the derby on the weekend after? I
think it depends, doesn't it? Because, you know, you can take positives and negatives from this big break for a lot of people. I think we're obviously in the Liverpool bubble, we see what's going on. We're seeing Liverpool do 11v11 training at Anfield. That's just to get the players fit. And I believe some of the tackles were pretty tasty in that. But, you know, getting them used to that atmosphere is all preparing for them. And I think Jurgen Klopp came out and said, you know, he's not going to hide. He's still going to be screaming and shouting at people if they're not doing the right job. So we're seeing all the mentality side from it and Liverpool being prepared for this thing. So, but, you know, we take Arsenal, for example, they're probably similar to Everton. Okay, Arteta's kind of being ill. You know, he's still a relatively new manager. So he's had this time to implement ideas, tactical decisions, get to know his players, you know, kind of tell them what they can and can't do. But it's the fitness side of it as well. You know, going up against City is really tough because Pep Guardiola is one of the best managers, you know, in our lifetime, in my opinion. So to think that Man City aren't going to be prepared for this game, but they've got nothing to play for, really, in that sense. So it's going to be difficult.
I think it could be a perfect time to play them, to be honest, because like Ross said, the fitness isn't, it doesn't matter how much training you do, the fitness isn't going to be there for match games. So I think it might be a perfect time for Arsenal to play them, and that it might be like a pre-season friendly type thing. Obviously, it's going to be very competitive and it's going to be a closely fought game, but I think it could be perfect for us because they could, even if they go there and they could draw or whatever, either way, it's perfect for us that we can maybe clinch the title. So yeah, it might be a good one for us.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I think, you know, we look back at the last 30 odd years, and Klopp has said it in a recent interview that we've been through so much at trying to win this title. If we've got to wait a little bit longer, we've got to wait a little bit longer. But it would be nice to, after all this comes back, the game comes back. I mean, we all did the match preview, didn't we, for the Everton game, and that was like going to be the next game, and then it's like, right, we're not doing that now. But it just would be absolutely amazing after all this to happen for us to win it at Goodison anyway. So, but obviously there's still a talk, and obviously probably the meeting's happening right now regarding the neutral venue discussion. And for me personally, I just think it's a load of bollocks. I think if you just got to talk to Merseyside police about it, they're fine with the game happening at Everton. Ross, I know you guys at the Redmen done a really good piece on it, but just share a couple of insights in terms of what you thought about neutral venues and whether you think it's a good idea or not.
Exactly the same as what you thought. I did an interview last week and spoke about it, and like I'm fine with it if it's all neutral venues. Like I understand the decision behind it. The bigger picture is, you know, it's people's safety. If they want to do that, fine, but don't have the hybrid thing of saying you can have 60 games and you know, I think it's Man City games, the Manchester United game, and there's a couple of Liverpool games where you're going to win the title. To me, it doesn't make a difference to me because wherever the game's played, I'm watching at home. I can't go to the pub, can't go to my mates, can't go to my parents, can't go to Anfield. Like, and if I went to Anfield, I'd miss the game anyway. So you know what's the point? You're going to see more of it on TV, but it just feels like a slur on fans and something that's kind of, I think I call it like a dated opinion or, you know, a stigmatism against football fans, which I thought we were past, to be honest, and even more so a stigmatism towards Liverpool fans, which again I thought we were past, to say you can't be trusted. Wherever this game is played in the world, are you telling me, you know, there's not Liverpool fans? We're going to play at Wembley. There's no Liverpool fans in London, is there not? What difference does it make in that sense? So I think it's a bit pathetic, to be honest. And like you said there, Merseyside police, I said it's fine. Everton want that game at Goodison Park to go and win the title. So, and like, and again, from a fan's perspective, you know, it could be played on the moon. I don't care, but you know, it'd also be pretty sweet to win the title at Everton. So there's probably only Everton fans that are probably the only ones that don't want it at Goodison Park because it just boil piss.
They won't fucking see it anyway, regardless.
Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't matter, does it? But like you said, the whole oh, the title-winning game's got to be away from Anfield. Like, I'm not being funny, Mick. You're not going to congregate around Anfield, are you? You're going to be at home watching it and watching the players celebrate and watching us lift the trophy. You're not going to go, oh, I'm going to go to Anfield and listen. Oh, have they lifted it yet? Oh, yeah, I can hear him picking it up. Fuck off.
Yeah, it's absolutely pointless. And like Ross said, it is a bit of a stigmatism, and it's this whole stereotype that around Liverpool and obviously the North clubs, and they're gonna cause trouble. They're gonna go around the grounds. It's like, but why? It makes no sense at all. Why would we not want to sit on the couch or watch it on telly, which is going to be the best seat? Because where else the fuck are you going to watch it?
You can't peek over Anfield, can you? I like a fence and go, oh yeah, I can kind of see it. But like someone else made a good point yesterday of like, well, there's two things. One, every opportunity they get to use Wembley, they try and do because they paid that much for it, so they're trying to just get as much use out of it, which again doesn't make any sense. But also, Jack said that it's not just Northwest teams, it's not just Liverpool that are fighting for something. We've known this is coming. We've been prepared for 2 months that we're going to have to watch it at home. But say, the relegation battle, like say Norwich escape, there's going to be a handful of idiots from every fan base that, will go and spoil it for everybody. But they're not going to go and say, right, Norwich, you got a relegation decider against blah, blah, blah. You're now at a neutral venue, because they won't change that. Or equally, a Wolves, a Sheffield United, a Leicester, getting, potentially getting Champions League football. You telling me their fans aren't going to be delighted with that? And then what might not be like a handful of people that are going to be there. What difference does it make? We've been told that we can't celebrate. And it was interesting, Jurgen Klopp did an interview yesterday and said we need the best stay-at-home fans. But he also said, like, I don't need to tell them. But by saying I don't need to tell them, it was like a little nod to say, fucking stay at home, will you?
It's true. Everyone's going to be on Zoom, aren't they? It's going to be the biggest fucking Zoom party ever. Yeah,
and again, like I think he said, I think, you guys obviously speak to people that, reply to you on Twitter or your YouTube channel or whatever else. We've had suggestions of people doing like a Zoom parties or, putting your flags outside your house. Not one person has suggested that I've seen of, let's all go down to Anfield, let's go and do this. And everyone said, like, when the time's right, when it's safe, let's go and have that parade. We've seen the scenes recently from a year ago, 2 days ago, whatever it was, of the trophy parade for the Champions League final, which we won. Like, it's got to be on a completely different scale to that. But like, I'm not putting myself at risk. I'm not going to put friends and family at risk. I'm not put people at risk, people I don't know at risk by going out into Liverpool as much as I want to. Like, I'm just contributing to making things worse.
Yeah,
it's an insult, really, isn't it? Because they're just expecting us to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why? But why? Like, we're all aware of the problems in the world, of course we are, but we're not less informed just because we're in the north of the country.
And is it any worse than the scenes that we saw at the weekend of people going to the beaches and beauty spots and people in high positions of power doing things that they shouldn't be doing? Which is partly why I think they've decided that these neutral venues things should exist. Because the person in power who's done that has basically given everyone the green light to say, we can kind of go and do what you want.
Yeah.
Which you don't agree with, but at the same time, well, he can do it and get away with it. Well, what are we sat in our houses for?
Yeah, correct. It's not like we live in fucking America where it takes days of driving to get from one side of the country. If you put it in a neutral venue, there's a like you said before, mate, there's going to be Liverpool fans all over the country. Yeah. If they're going to go, they're going to go.
They can put it in Europe, and there's still going to be Liverpool fans around Europe. Anywhere in the world, there's Liverpool fans, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, on the plus side of it, of all this happening, is the fact that we are going to experience every single game live on the TV, which, again, is unprecedented. And it's something I think we've all been clamouring for a long, long time. But the news that all 92 remaining games will be live is still a massive positive, especially for those fans who've never been able to get to the game, whether it be they can't get tickets or, the disabled or whatever, they've never been able to get to the game. This is such a good thing for every football fan in the UK, especially after what's been happening since March, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just encouraging people to stay at home, isn't it? And kind of behave themselves. But I think you're right. The amount of money that's in TV deals, and I can't afford Sky, I can't afford BT. I find other legal means and ways of watching the football, and you guys both know
we do it as well. Yeah,
you guys both know that trying to get all the tickets to get to Anfield is fucking ridiculous, and it has been for a few years and years. So the fact that okay, we don't have to stay at home and watch it, but I think we're all going to appreciate football in the sense of a Burnley Newcastle game, for example, and not just discrediting all them teams, but I wouldn't normally watch. I wouldn't be up for to have 2 months of no football. Like, I'm watching that game, and some of the coverage, like, it's an opportunity for like the BBC to kind of showcase what they're made of, and maybe it could be a thing for the future. I know I think you said before, there's a couple of years left on this deal, but like, why shouldn't it be like that's what it was like when we were growing up when we were kids? They'd have like certain games on. I know it wasn't Premier League, but showcase what football's about and get people interested, grow interested. And the amount of people that have been furloughed or have lost their job or can't afford these things, to have it free to air, encourage them to stay at home. The best one for me is Amazon. Their coverage of football is phenomenal. Like, and I think they've got 4 games which are free. Like, I'm tuning into all of them because like the way you can pick and choose, for me, that's the future of TV football.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And Mick, you said it the other day, didn't you, about Sky are doing a selection of games for free as well, aren't they? So if people have got like the minimal Sky subscription, they'll be able to watch a lot of the games for free as well.
Yeah, I think there's 33 in total for free. So I think 25 on Sky, and then 4 Amazon and 4 on BBC. But I think to be the first time BBC have ever, or for ages, I've had a Premier League match on there. Or top flight match.
It is. It's the first time ever. Yeah.
That's gonna be good, isn't it? At least, and then obviously I think Amazon's the main one. I think obviously like we've touched on having that Netflix type access to footy, which I think most countries around the world have access to a kind of app like that already. But the country that the fucking football's played in doesn't. Yeah. It is a bit backwards.
This is it, mate, and you just hit the nail on the head. It's daft, and I just don't understand. And that's something I wanted to just discuss with you both now in terms of the future. There's a really good book called The Club, and it's how the Premier League got started. It's all the inside info of the league and all that type of stuff. And if anybody's not read it, I really encourage anybody to read it. But the first TV deal from 92, 93 to 97 was worth £50 million a year. Whereas this current cycle from 2019 to 2022 is worth nearly £4 billion a year. So the TV rights alone are just unbelievable. And it averages, I think, about 135 million per club, which is insane amount of money, as we all know. But it's like I said to you guys off air that I think the coronavirus now, with the 92 games being played, and like Ross said, encouraging us to stay at home and all that sort of stuff, the reason why the 3 p.m. kickoff rules brought in the first place 30 years ago was to encourage people to go to the match. Well, now it's the opposite. It's too hard to get into the match now because, like Ross said, you just can't get tickets for love and money for a lot of people. The 3 of us are in a very privileged position that we live locally and we can get access to tickets, and we have done things the right way. But it takes years of memberships to do that and build your credits up and stuff. So now is the time where people want to watch every single game at home, and this is where other ways come into play, and IPTV is getting popular all the time and stuff. And it would be great if there was a sort of Netflix, PREMFLIX style thing come happen after 2022. And I just think I would pay £10 to £15 a month to see all archives of Premier League games and every game live. You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but I think you're being very optimistic with £10 to £15 a month.
And
that's part of the problem. Like I said before, like I can't afford Sky. Excuse me. Like Sky Sports alone's like, what is it, 40 quid or something stupid?
Yeah.
And that's on top of like your TV package and then your internet, and if you want BT Sports, and then there's so many other ways of trying to get access to football. It's just ridiculous. And the one thing that I don't want to happen is because people can't go to football stadiums and they need to make up the footfall of ticket revenue, which clubs don't have at the minute, is for the TV companies to exploit people and go, right, listen, like, you just said there, £10 to £15. Like, great, that'd be ideal. And I think the amount of people that would subscribe to that would be phenomenal because it's kind of an affordable thing. But you think in Sky Sports alone is 40 quid. It's going to be through the roof of what these people are going to expect. And I don't think they should take the opportunity to go, football fans are a working class fan base predominantly. I know things have changed slightly. They introduced corporate tickets and stuff like that, but it's still, do you know what I mean? You pay £40 a ticket for a game at Liverpool if you're lucky. Make it affordable for everybody. Make it so everyone can kind of get in the situation, stay at home, afford football, enjoy it. And I reckon you get a lot more people subscribing if they could afford it. Because if it says 40 quid a month, one would go, no, I can't do that. Whereas if it's £10, £15, yeah, it's more affordable to me and probably most football fans.
I think the Premier League must be aware of this issue as well. Obviously, we touched on there. Find another means of watching it if you can't afford it. They surely know that there's hundreds of thousands of streams going out there that people are using because they can't afford it. So why can't they come together, let common sense fucking prevail for once, come up with a feasible solution that's affordable for everyone, and then they'd be on that. Everyone would be back. Say if it was 30, top max 30 a month, I think pretty much all of the UK, everyone would have that. Like you say, so if you had access to all the archive footage and you could watch back all the old games and all that, for me, it's a no-brainer. So for common sense to prevail is, it's a difficult
asking
one.
a lot of the Premier League that much.
That's what I was going to say. Doesn't happen, does it? So it's a bit optimistic, like, but.
No, but if that 10 to 15 quid is spent all the way around the world, do you know what I mean? I mean, I know NBC have got stuff in America and Canal in France have got rights to it, but I mean, the amount of money that the Premier League will get if that same 10 to 15 pound, euros, dollars, whatever was spent all the way around the world, it'd be way more money than the 3 billion they're getting a year now. It'd be 100 odd billion a year, and then each club would potentially get £1 billion every year. But that's just asking for more trouble, because you can see like a really shitty player in League Two going for like 600 million eventually. So that's just asking for trouble. But that's the way it's going to go eventually.
I reckon if you look at the viewing figures of the BBC of, like, watching the World Cup and stuff, which, if it's 4 games on a day on the BBC or ITV, like we all watch them, just for the spectacle. But most people watch them because they don't have Sky. It's the only way of getting access to kind of football, because they can't afford Sky Sports, BT Sports, and any other packages that are going on. And Amazon's obviously coming to the fold, which is pretty new. I know you can get a 30-day free trial and stuff like that. But it's just more money on top of whatever else. And like Mick said, like, no one can afford all 3 of them. I think certain people across like Scandinavia, across the Europe, like, you can just select Liverpool games.
Yeah.
Like if you gave you the option to kind of do that, okay, some of the big games I think you want to jump in on as well. But like a select package of saying, right, you pay, I don't know, £200 for the year and you can watch every Liverpool game.
Yeah.
Sound, a lot of people will bang up for that, but like Mick said, it almost seems like common sense.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? I mean, I know Seamus from the WWE did an interview with Paul, didn't he, a while ago, and he said that, yeah, I've got the NBC app on my phone, I pay $10, $12 a month and I get every single game. And you just think, right, you're a Liverpool fan from Ireland who lives in America and can watch every game, and we can't do that. And it's just, the mind the mind boggles for it, mate. But hopefully that these 92 games will be an eye-opener for a lot of people, because everyone will be tweeting about it, saying that they can get access to every single game. And there'll be more rights. I mean, I don't know if the subscriptions will go up, even if they did put every live game on. But like you said, Ross, there's a lot of people who can't afford it. They're paying £15 a month for BT on top of Sky, and then they've got Amazon. And if it was all under one roof, it would be a lot easier for everybody, wouldn't it?
I think even like someone like Mick said before, I think the Merseyside derby's free to air on Sky Sports. Yeah. So it's also like a marketing ploy for them. Like, I'm sure like most of the other games that they've got on for free won't be the best big hitters, because they want people to subscribe and sign up to the thing. But even if they put some of them on as like a teaser of, like, saying here's a bit of free content for you. If you want the full thing, come and try it for this price or something. It's an incentive to get people going, rather than just going, well, if you want to watch football, you've got to pay through the roof for it. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs when you need a global pandemic for them to finally do something like this, like what's been done 10, 15 years ago, really.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And they go on about how our technologies move forward, how we broadcast games and all that sort of stuff. Every TV channel talks about it, but we're still stuck in the dark ages in terms of the rules and regulations of watching football. You can't watch football at 3:00 because you've got to go to the match instead. Well, no one can. The Premier League is so much bigger than what it was back then now.
But again, the issue behind that is it was a completely separate issue. But it's not an issue for Liverpool fans now. But if you go up and down the country, we're not putting it on telly because we want you to go to games. A lot of people can't afford to go to games week in, week out, because the prices are through the roof. So maybe that might come down as well for certain clubs.
That's it. And a lot of us go to the game and we still pay for Sky and we still pay for BT, and we're paying £40, £60 a ticket.
Well, that's just for the ticket. You know, you've got your travel,
Yeah.
your half-time pie, your beers, you know, afterwards and all that stuff. You know, it's an expensive day out for what's a working-class game.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially when you go, like, I've been not loads of away games, but I've been quite a few, and if fucking hell, it's like 150, 200 quid all in, because obviously you need a ticket, you need your travel to get there, you fucking
Hotel, food, drink,
like it's literally like I don't know how some people can afford it. It's mad. Like, you see, like, some mates of mine go every game, and like fair enough, they're on good money, but even still, even if you're on megabucks, it's a lot of money to be shelling out on all like prices at the tickets every week. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, hopefully after 2022, hopefully they'll have something to reveal. Maybe they work on something over the next couple of years to try and just say, listen, that's the last 92 games of that season worked. We need to capitalise on it, and hopefully they do make football for everyone.
Either that, or we'll all move to America. So we can watch 3 o'clock kickoffs at 2 o'clock in the morning, or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. Well, at least we can watch them.
Yeah.
Sound. Well, listen, one last thing before you go, mate. It's just obviously the first fixture is now confirmed that it will be Everton. How are you feeling going into that game?
I don't think I've processed it in my head yet, to be honest with you. Again, it comes back to who's prepared for it, and I've got no doubt in my mind that Liverpool will bang up for this game. You know, you can say, like, you know, you said before, we waited 30 years for the title. You know, as the 2 months played on the minds of these Liverpool players, or has Jurgen Klopp got them fired up and saying, you know, the job's not done yet. Go in there and get it done. I think we've seen some clips from, like I said, the 11v11 that he did at Anfield the other day. Looking at like some Mo Salah, who was in training with his top off, and you're thinking, Jesus Christ, like, you know, you've not been sat in your arse eating Jaffa cakes off your belly for the past 2 months. Like, you're bang up for this game. So, and equally, you know, Everton don't have a lot to play for, but it's a Merseyside derby, so they're going to be bang up for it. So it'd be interesting to see. It's just bizarre because we don't know how it's going to play out. You know, Everton could shock us. I said it before about, you know, Mikel Arteta, Ancelotti's in the same place, getting to know his players, you know, gearing them up for this game. You know, saying prove yourself. There'll be a lot of people playing for the futures under Ancelotti, I imagine, as well. Saying, you know, you're basically in the shop window, or you're playing for your Everton future. You know, just because it's the Merseyside derby doesn't mean they're going to sit off and do nothing. I do think it's interesting Jordan Pickford plays again and how he reacts, because we've seen every time that he plays Liverpool, he just crumbles. So, you know, no crowd there makes a difference for him. Or if Liverpool just played Divock Origi, I'm just standing next to him for 90 minutes. Get the shit out of him. I'm fine with that as well.
Well, like I said, another person that made his name in the derby, the last one at Anfield, was Shaqiri. And Mick, have you got a feeling that he's going to leave?
No, I was just going to ask Ross about it, because obviously we touched on Millie before, maybe leaving, maybe for Leeds at the end of the season if we win the Premier League. I just wanted to get Ross's thoughts on maybe on Xherdan Shaqiri, because obviously there's some interest from Newcastle apparently, and I think that interest is reciprocated from him if I believe if they get took over. He's 29 in October. He's only played 6 Premier League appearances this year for the Reds. So, do you think it's time for him to be moved on?
I don't know. Shaqiri's just a really odd one. I think, you know, you're right. The link came with Newcastle, and if they get taken over, which seems to be dragging on a little bit now, I think that's a whole separate conversation whether that happens or not. I just don't understand why he hasn't played, and we can all speculate. There's been rumours like he doesn't. You know, he can only fit in a 4-2-3-1. He doesn't track back, which is why Jurgen Klopp doesn't really like him in the side. But I mean, we've seen glimpses of him against, you know, Manchester United games, the pre-season game where he scored an overhead kick against Manchester United, the Barcelona game, the Merseyside derby. You know, the quality's there with Shaqiri, but he just doesn't seem to fit for some reason. And because we don't know the reason why, we don't know. You know, I think he's also missed a lot of opportunities where we've had cup games and, you know, youth players have almost gone ahead of him, like Curtis Jones or Harvey Elliott, because he's had the opportunity to play in games which he probably should have started, but he's been injured. And I don't understand the injuries behind it, because he's, you know, his thighs are bigger than the three of us put together. So, you know, how can he have these injuries? So it's a bizarre one. I don't think I blame him if he wanted to leave, because I think, you know, he said that the age is still there. I think he's still got the capability. Maybe he's better performing when he's the main fella inside. If he went to Newcastle, I think he'd be that. And I think it also depends on incomings. which again, the transfer window and transfer dealings, what Liverpool do and don't this summer with every other club, is all up in the air. So, if a team of Werner comes in, or, Klopp says Curtis Jones is going to play in the wing, or Chamberlain's going to play in the wing, or Harvey Elliott's going to come through, like, if you're Xherdan Shaqiri, you're looking, thinking, you mentioned 6 games there, where's he getting his game time if a team of Werner comes in? I just don't see it. So, and it's also probably a good time to sell him. I know the market might be different in the sense of price and stuff like that, but your last memories of Xherdan Shaqiri, of everything I've just mentioned before, if you're a club, you're looking at that. Whereas if he stays another year, he's going to gain time, his value just decreases. So, we all know Michael Edwards is very good at pulling people's pants down and getting loads of money for players. So, you say a ballpark figure for Xherdan Shaqiri, we're talking between 15 and 25 million pounds probably, which is a profit on what we bought him for. So it's a job done, and it's also a contribution towards, what might go on a team of Werner. And Harry Wilson's another one. Like, what roles he got when he comes back? Does he have a role? If he comes back and he does have a role, again, Xherdan Shaqiri, what am I doing here? I want to play football.
Yeah, true. And it'll be one of those things where we say, thank you very much, and there'll be no negative fears because of what he did for us, in especially the Barcelona game. There's been no hard feelings. He was great to have him. We were all made up when we did sign him, and it'd be good. But you just touched on there with Timo Werner. The news broke yesterday that the clause has to be activated over the next week, doesn't it, or the next 12 days?
Yeah.
So that's going to be quite interesting to see how Liverpool play that over the next 2 weeks. What do you think? Do you think that deal's ever going to go over the line, or do you think it's going to be one of the things now which, like, the longer it goes on, the less likely I can see it happen? Yeah,
it's very, very Neville Fekir, isn't it? It's starting to do my head talk about on the shows every fucking week. Someone replied to a thing. I think David Marriott did a report last week, or maybe even the week before, kind of said Liverpool are out. They're kind of not interested, and everyone was like, it's all part of the dance. Which is the words someone said, and I'm fully behind that. We've seen this before. Liverpool aren't interested in Virgil van Dijk. Sound. Danny Ward's going to be Liverpool's number 1 goalkeeper for the season. Alisson comes in. We've seen this before, and again, Michael Edwards and is it Mike Gordon, the other fella, that deal with transfer business at Liverpool are all very good at doing this. So my only concern is the Chelsea rumours that have been ramped up over the past couple of days, which is making my heart clench a little bit. But is that could be Leipzig putting reports out in newspapers trying to pile on the pressure to encourage Liverpool to sign. It could be the agent trying to do that. It could be Timo Werner himself trying to get a move. You don't know what's behind the report. So I think Liverpool will get it done over the line. Timo Werner's come out 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times and said he wants to come to Liverpool, which is very rare. Yeah. For a player to kind of do that. But this position that Liverpool are in now, we're shopping in a completely different store now of players of calibre, and the fact that players are courting us. Not us are trying to beg to get plays, or just like you said in the Mbappe, team of Werner, Jadon Sancho to in the conversation 3, 4, 5 years ago, we'd all laugh at each other. Whereas now they're all possibilities, outside the realms of possibility. So I think it'll get done. I just think it's going to go on for a little while. And again, I said before, the transfer market I think his clause is about £49 million. Like again, with post-coronavirus market. Does that come down? And can Liverpool get him for cheaper? And his contract's going to run out next season as well. So if he don't have the release clause, he doesn't sign a new contract, that price is only going to come down.
Yeah, true. Mick, is your ass clenching as well?
A little bit, but from what you read and hear and see, obviously Timo Werner's trying desperately to come to Liverpool. The amount of times he's come out and said Liverpool are the best team in the world. Yeah, Klopp's the best manager in the world. He doesn't want to go to Bayern. All the signs are pointing that he's coming for the Premier League in some shape or form, and looks like Liverpool are going to be that club. I feel like it's going to happen eventually. Obviously, with the coronavirus and the price, is obviously going to be the issue, because I think 50 million, Liverpool don't want to pay that, because obviously funds are running low because no one's fucking playing football at the minute. So I think it's going to happen eventually. I don't want it to get to the point where it obviously like a Neville Fekir, where it's like it's going to happen, then it doesn't, and then he goes to Chelsea because he's got no alternative, because they're willing to pay him, we're not.
Yeah.
I think if it comes to that, I think if Chelsea do want to pay that, I think we will probably come in and say, well, fair enough, if they're willing to pay it, we'll have to pay it because we want our man. Obviously, Klopp, like Ross has just touched on, when he wants a player, he gets him. He doesn't want anyone else apart from, like we talked about, Van Dijk and Alisson. He doesn't settle for second best. He wants the right man for the job, and obviously there's a lot of scouting gone into Timo Werner, and we can all see from the Bundesliga highlights how good he is, how many goals he scored this season, how he's literally the perfect. If you could create a player perfect for Liverpool at the moment, that's in the transfer market, it'd be Timo Werner. Yeah. Pace, trickery, playing all three positions up front. I think it's going to happen eventually for me, hopefully anyway.
Just look at his goal from Monday night. You know, the goalkeeper pumping up to him. It was like Salah versus Manchester United.
Yeah.
You know, I think Mick's right. He ticks all the boxes: versatility, price, age. You know, and I've said this loads of times before. You know, you think if you've got a Sadio Mane on the left hand side running at you for 70 minutes, and then Timo Werner comes on, or vice versa. You know, going to be games we're playing 3 times a week next season. You know, you're going to get more out of the front three by having someone a team of Werner's calibre. And don't think it's a sense of like who's he replace or whatever. It's having, you know, 4 or 5 people for 3 spots. And again, you know, back on just quickly on the Shaqiri stuff, we always forget about Minamino. Like, I don't know what his role in the squad is yet. And, you know, he's tipped to, you know, to be really good. We haven't seen that much of him, unfortunately. But if Minamino steps up as well, like, you know, you've got another person vying for that spot, or, you know, Divock Origi as well. If we don't know what he's capable of. It's about having a massive squad and trying to manage all these games, and particularly going to next season, then going straight into the Euros, and you know there might be the AFCON still. We're not sure about that. You need to cover yourself. We've been dead lucky not to have all injuries to the front three.
Yeah,
sustained periods of time with the amount of football we play. Just cover yourself. And like Mick said, you know, don't. This shouldn't be a reason to buy someone, but don't let him go to Chelsea.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. So hope he doesn't turn out to another bloody fakir. Let's just get him in. But like Ross, we just want to say thank you very much for joining us today. Really appreciate it as ever. Like I said, we'll get that match ball out to you.
Thanks.
We'll just deliver it and just throw it back to you guys, lads.
Can I have a unicorn one this time, please? That'd be great.
No problems, mate. Well, listen, that was the Kopite podcast in isolation yet again. And if you like the video, give it a like and a subscribe for us. Check out the Squad Number Show, episode 4 that Mick texted me on. And Mick did some spot-on research on that one, didn't you, mate? So good to go and check that one out. Put the link there for you. And we'll see you next time.